السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. نحمده ونصلي على رسول النبي الكريم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قال الله تعالى في شان حبيبي إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وعلى آله صل على سيدنا مولانا محمد وبارك وسلم عليه صلاة وسلاما عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. Today, of course, is the final Friday of this Ramadan. So, regardless of whether there's 29 days or 30 days, this is still the final Friday of this Ramadan. It is the 28th of Ramadan. You know, unfortunately, we treat Ramadan like we treat everything else, these days. Sort of like, you go, for those who have traveled, or have family in distant places, and you travel, and you have a lot of family kind of spread out, so you get there, and some people trickle in and come meet you. And then when it's time for you to leave, then everybody comes. Which is sad. It's like, I've been here for a month, where were you? But that's kind of how we treat Ramadan. So usually Ramadan, last Friday, and of course right now, because no one wants to hear anything, people just kind of will trickle in. And then you get the mindset of last in, first out. Which is, again, sad that we treat the religion and the gifts of Allah in this manner. This Ramadan is a gift to the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, just as the 5 daily salats are a gift to the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, from Allah through His Habib sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So, if you don't honor the gifts that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us, if we don't honor those gifts, then what can we expect? And we see the effects throughout the Ummah. I wasn't sure what to talk about today, so I was just going to kind of ramble, and I'm still probably going to ramble somewhat, but I was talking to the brother just right before I got up here, and so some things that he said. Eid will be either Sunday or Monday, depending on the sighting of the moon. The actual Eid will be either Sunday or Monday, depending on the sighting of the moon. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, and the hadith is in Sahih Bukhari. So this isn't a hadith that the people that play with it can dispute. No one disputes the hadith. They try to give some strange interpretations to it, but the hadith is very clear. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when you see the moon, fast, and when you see the moon, break your fast, meaning end Ramadan. And if it is cloudy and you can't see the moon, then complete 30 days. Okay. Very clear-cut statement. So I'm going to come back to this in a little while. I want to give a background to why I'm going to say what I'm going to say. Ninth year of Hijri. So, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Makkah was conquered 8th year, right? Ramadan of the 8th year, Makkah was conquered. So that's another significant thing that happened in Ramadan, is the conquest of Makkah. You have this bloodless takeover, and the takeover wasn't, we're taking over. The takeover was basically victory over the hearts. Okay. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam enters Makkah, and then he comes back to Medina. Before this, Hajj had already been made an obligation, but because of the conditions, no one could go. No one of the believers could go, because Quraysh did not honor, the concept that the Haram is a sanctuary for everyone. They honored it for everybody else except for the believers. So the next year, Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he sends Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu as the head of the Hajj, the Emir of the Hajj. And Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu, along with the people that are going for the Hajj, they leave Medina Munawwara, they come to Dhul Hulayfa, which is just on the outskirts of Medina. This is the area where the pilgrims put on their ihram from Medina. And they stop there. So it's not too far outside of Medina. After they have left, the revelations come. And these are the first few verses of Surah Tawbah. Most of Surah Tawbah has already been revealed when he was on his way back from Tabuk. So these verses come later. And in these verses, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala basically declares that, that because the non-Muslims have violated the treaties with the believers, those treaties are now void. And those people that are living in Mecca who have not become Muslim, they have 4 months to either become Muslim or leave. So this is a haram for believers only. So when the verses come, the discussion comes up, or the question comes, who will recite these verses? And so the issue is that the agreement they had made was made both on a governmental level, but also on a personal level with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So these agreements these treaties had been signed. If you look at the treaties that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam signed, that he put his seal on, all of them start off with, this is an agreement or a treaty or a truce or whatever, or when he sent letters, this is a letter from. They would start off from Muhammadur Rasulullah and or to whoever is next. So from that standpoint, the only one who can absolve something or change something is Muhammadur Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, or someone who could speak directly on his behalf. And the only one who could speak directly on the behalf of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was Ali, Karamallahu wajh, because of his family tie, and he was it. So Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam sends Ali radhiyallahu anhu that you will recite the verses. So when Ali radhiyallahu anhu leaves, he leaves on the camel of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam gives him his camel and says, you go. So he's riding the camel of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu is in his tent. And in the tent he hears the footsteps of Qaswa. Qaswa was the name of his camel. He hears the footsteps of Qaswa coming. And he says to his people, and this is the beauty of the true lover. He even knows the footsteps of the animals of the ones he loves. He says, this sounds like Qaswa coming. And he's all, really elated because he thinks Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has come to join them and to be the leader of the Hajj. When he comes outside, he sees this Ali. He's happy to see Ali, but not like he would have been if he'd seen Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So he asked Ali, he says, why have you come? So Ali tells him, he says, these verses have been revealed, and I have been commanded by Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to recite these verses in the Hajj. So Abu Bakr says, well, He says, and he asked him, he says, are you coming to be the leader of the Hajj, to be the Amir of the Hajj, or to be one of the Hajis, one of the followers in the Hajj? He says, no, I'm not coming to be the Amir, I'm coming to be one of the Hujjaj that will be with you, one of the followers with you. He says, well, then, he says, then I could recite the verses. If that's an issue, then I could recite the verses. Ali Radhi's response is important to understand. He says, no. He says, I have been commanded to do this directly from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So unless he directly tells me to change this, I am the only one who can recite these verses. In the condition where you have a direct command, ijtihad is haram. Ijtihad is when you have a situation and then you reason, you're trying to use Quran and Sunnah and Hadith as a platform, but you reason within that. And this is what Ali Radhi says. He says, there is a direct command from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I cannot put my reasoning into this. That, he said it to me, but, you're the Amir, so I'll let you do it. No. He commanded me to do this, so I am to do this. Now Abu Bakr Radhi becomes concerned. Because he's thinking, maybe there's some verses that were revealed about me. Maybe I've done something that has upset, that has angered Allah or upset Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he leaves and comes back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then he says, he asked Rasulullah, he said, Ya Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you sent Ali to recite these verses, but I could recite the verses. And he says, no. He says, because these agreements were not just on a governmental level, but also on a personal level. So he's the only one who can recite the verses. And he says, Ya Rasulullah, was anything revealed about me? He's concerned. The lover is always concerned. And Rasulullah says, no, you're fine. You're good. So he comes back, and this is exactly what they did. Abu Bakr Radhi gives the khutbah, but the verses were recited by Ali. So it's sort of like a dual khutbah, like a tag team khutbah. Ali Radhi recites the verses, and Abu Bakr Radhi delivers the khutbah for the Hajj. But the point being here is, when you have a direct command, ijtihad is haram. When you have a direct command of Allah and His Messenger, ijtihad is haram. And we see the effects of this ijtihad when you have a direct command in Uhud. So we've seen that before. What happened in Uhud? In Uhud, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave a direct command to the 50 archers that do not move from your place no matter what until I order you to move. Do not move from your place until I order you to move. Even if the vultures come and start picking your meat. He tells them this. What happens? The Muslims are winning. The archers did ijtihad. They said, the command was only for the duration of the battle. The battle has ended, so let's move. And we know what happened after that. What was to be a clear-cut victory became a, you can say tragedy, but it became something very difficult for the believers. Why? They did ijtihad where you have a clear-cut order of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The reason I'm mentioning all of this is because, as I said, the conversation I had with the brother just minutes ago. I knew about one, but he was telling me that there are 5 masajid that are coming together. And they've already announced, they announced actually last week, that Eid will be on Sunday. And that, that we have done this ijtihad. So we've done the ijtihad. The ijtihad is for new situations, not something that's been going on forever. So we've done this ijtihad, and because it's possible that the moon might be sighted, and if you look at, even if you look at it from an astronomical standpoint, the only place the moon can be sighted would be the Pacific Islands. So it's possible that it could be sighted, so we're going to do Eid. The real reason is that 29 days will end and it will be Sunday. So it's a matter of convenience. You don't have to take off from work. You already rented the park because they're getting together to do it in a park. So you already rented the park. Otherwise you'd have to rent it for 2 days, so maybe this day or that day. So you already have all this place. So it's simply convenience. So for a matter of convenience, just abandon the direct command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is again the condition of the ummah now, unfortunately. That's not the only place. There are places who have announced when Eid was going to be months ago. Again, and they say, they didn't know back then. See, they didn't know. So one, you're doing what's haram. You're disobeying the direct command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then you're insulting his knowledge on top of that they didn't know. These calculations have been around for ages. If you look at the ancient Chinese society and also in the subcontinent, you have these calculations have been around for centuries, even before Islam. My father Sheikh wrote about a calculation that Imam Jafar Sadiq. So Imam Jafar Sadiq is the son of Imam Muhammad Baqir, who's the son of Imam Zain al-Abidin, who is the son of Imam Hussein al-Islam. Imam Jafar Sadiq is the teacher of Imam Abu Hanifa. He's the teacher of Imam Malik. He is that teacher of Imam Abu Hanifa, for whom Imam Abu Hanifa said that if I had not had those 2 years, I would never have understood anything. He also had a calculation as to calculating when Eid al-Adha would be. And my father Sheikh said that he looked at that, and it, always came out just as he said. But Imam Jafar Sadiq never used that calculation to tell people, this is when Hajj will be. Because again, the direct command of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is to look for the moon. And in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says what? يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْأَهِلَّةِ, that they ask you about the crescent, which is the new moon. Because that's the other thing, a lot of people get confused. They look on their calendar, see, new moon. Well, astronomical new moon is when you can't see the moon. Islamic new moon is when you see that initial crescent. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says they ask you about the crescent, the new moon. And what is the response? He said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, say to them, قُلْ هِيَ مَوَاقِيتُ لِلنَّاسِ وَالْحَجِّ, that this is, so that the people can know their time, their dates, and for the Hajj. Because a lot of people say, oh, they're doing Arafah on this day over there. Of course, they have their calendar, which is also their ijtihad. What is their ijtihad? Oh, again, if it's possible anywhere, then we will announce it. They do deviate from that when it's convenient. Again, convenience. Islam is not convenience. And Ramadan should teach us that. Otherwise, it would be convenient to be eating in the middle of the day. I mean, if it's a matter of convenience, it would have been convenient, for the Muslims not to have to be tortured. It would have been convenient to make a truce with Quraysh. That, you're fine, you do this and we'll do that. Islam is submission with sacrifice, because that's part of submission. Submission isn't I do whatever I want. That's not submission. Submission is I do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants me to do, irregardless of what I want. Again, people keep saying, oh, and then they want to throw that out there. Oh, everybody's doing it. Everybody's doing it. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. And of course, we need to be together, which of course is not what the verse says. What does the verse say? وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا. That hold fast to the rope of Allah all together. And do not be divided. If everybody is holding fast to that rope, then you're not going to be divided. The and do not be divided is you will not be divided. If you hold fast to the rope of Allah, you will not be divided. But when you have people choosing not to hold fast to that rope, because what is the rope of Allah? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he explained to us what the rope of Allah is. He said that the rope of Allah is the Quran. But at the same time, he tells us what? He says, I'm leaving behind two things, two very heavy things. Not just two things, two very heavy things. And if you hold fast to them, you will never go astray. And most people will try to tell you that he said the Quran and the Sunnah, which is not what he said in the Sahih Hadith. The Hadith that talks about the Quran and the Sunnah is a weak Hadith. It was promoted 700 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Hadith that's in Sahih Muslim says that I'm leaving behind two heavy things. The Quran and Itrat Ahl Bayti. The Quran and my household. And then in the other hadith he says that the Quran and my household will never be separated until they come and meet me at the Hawd on the Day of Judgment. So the unity of the believers is in holding fast to that rope, irregardless if anyone else is holding to it or not. Because if you read the rest of the verse, it's verse 103 of Surah Al-Imran. Read the rest of the verse. And time's getting short, so I'm just going to say this much. If you read the rest of the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He is the one who united the believers. Not because of some organization, or not because they decided, oh, we're going to do Eid on the same day in this park, even though it's not the day of Eid. And we'll go ahead and announce it even though no one's even, the moon hasn't even come out yet. You know, at least the Saudis wait until the sun sets before they make their announcement. You got to give them that much. Even though they've already decided what they're going to do, but at least they wait. These guys don't even wait. You know, a month in advance, oh, you know, people, they got to take time off, they got to do this. You know, it's just so inconvenient. You know, this day or that day. Which, that's part of the lesson. That's part of submission. That's teaching you to be ready to put aside everything else for the religion. But again, we want convenience. And we see the convenience that the Ummah is in now. It's very convenient for them to slaughter us. It's very convenient for them to take our iman from us. You know, at least if they just slaughter us, you know, at least we go with our iman. So those places where they're being where we're being slaughtered, at least they're going with their iman. The rest of us, where we're in the places of our convenience, we don't even have iman. You know, Eid is coming. Which should be a joyous time for the believers. Well, what kind of iman do I have if I can't even remember the people that are suffering? You know, people say, oh, we need to you know, follow the way of the Sahaba. They don't even know what the way of the Sahaba is. You know, one day on Eid, one of the Eids during the Khilafah of Umar, after he gives the khutbah, he goes home and he's crying. And people went to his house and said, Ya Amir al-Mu'min, why are you crying? This is a joyous occasion. He says, if I had the guarantee that I was forgiven, then it would be joyous, but I don't know. Even though the reality is, Rasulullah already told him who he is. But this is Umar. I'll end here. Brother will make the adhan. And, you know, may Allah allow us to understand and to fill our hearts with his true love and the true love of his beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and all of those whom they love. And he'll make the adhan, we'll make sunnah, and then we'll start the khutbah after that, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.